Hi and welcome to the Rhabot tutorial. First thing you need to do is log into your tune. After you've logged into your tune, you're going to hit F12 or the tilde key to open up the interspace console. And once you're there, you're going to type .net space Rhabot space open quote /Rhabot/Rhabot.exe end quote. Remember, you must use the / because that's just how it works. So this is the login screen. For those of you who don't have an account, we have a free account. You'll get 5 days of the full-featured Rhabot. After that, you'll be down to the free version, which doesn't have all the options, but it has enough for you to run a bot and still do everything automated. Okay, so this is the main screen of Rhabot. And you'll notice if you click on the other tabs that everything is locked, and that's because we haven't loaded a settings profile yet. And because this is our first time in here, we don't have a settings profile at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to create one. So you click Create Folder, and you get some instructions. And this is where you're going to type in the name of your settings. Now remember, settings are class specific. So if you have like a Fire Mage, you might want to type Fire Mage. I just have a Shaman. So I'm just going to type Shaman, example here. And you click Load Settings. And yes, I will rename it eventually to Save Settings. And you'll see here we have it saved, Shaman example. So you select your new settings and you click Load Settings. And everything loads with the defaults. So the next thing we need to do is go in the Settings tab and set up everything. And this is where you're going to configure things like when to return to vendors and what type of mobs to target. So you notice here we have a durability %. When your durability is at or below this % here, you're going to return to the vendor and do a repair and sell. By default, it's 30%. If you've got like a clothwear, you might want to increase it to 45-50%. If you're wearing plate, you can handle the 25 or 30%. The search settings, the low and high attack are the levels of below and above you to search for mobs. So for example, with the current settings, if you're level 20, you're going to target mobs 4 levels below you, which would be 16, and 1 level above you, which would be 21. The search range is the number of yards from your tune to search for mobs, chests, mines, herbs, etc. It's set to 30 yards. You can raise or lower it however you want. The target range is how far from the mob before you target them and cast your pull spell. By default, it's 20. Most pull spells are 20 yards. You can change this as needed. If you're a skinner, you're going to check the skinner checkbox, and after you kill the mob, you will skin him. If you're a miner, check miner, and your tune will search for mines that are mineable by you and will go mine them. If you're an herbalist, click flower picker, and you'll pick flowers as you go along. If you can open locked chests, i.e. if you're a rogue, you're going to check the rogue box. If you want to find chests, which by default is checked, you check find chest, and you will search for chest as you're searching for mobs. And if you want to target elites, then you check target elites. Now you notice we have a start and end level settings here. All settings are level specific. So most settings apply to multiple levels, 5, 10, 20 levels at a time. So I'm going to set this to level 1 and in level for level 10 because it's basically the same. And you'll notice here at the bottom we have the declines. This will automatically decline guilds, groups, and dual invites. If you want to not decline them, you can uncheck these. Once you've got everything set up here, click Apply Settings, and settings on this panel will be saved for you. Next, we'll go to the Combat Settings tab, and this is where you're going to set up settings for combat. You'll notice we have the heal %. This is the % your health needs to be at before you cast heal on yourself. Next, we'll have the mana spam. When your mana is below this %, you will stop casting combat spells. You will only cast heal spells until your mana is, again, above 55%. We have the downtime %. After combat, if your health and or mana is below this, you will sit and eat or drink or both as needed. Next, we have the panic options. When do panic is checked, it will check to see how many mobs you have on you. If you have this panic threshold, which is set at 3, that many or more mobs on you, you're going to go into panic mode and run away. So if you're fighting a mob and 2 more aggro on you, with the current settings we have here, you're going to turn around and run away and try to get away before you die. Next we have the pre-combat buff spells. This is the list of buffs that will be applied to you before you enter combat. This would be things like Thorns, Mark of the Wild. If you already have the buff, nothing is done. If the buff is not on you, you will cast it onto yourself. Next is the pull spell. This is the spell you're going to cast to pull the mob. Next is the combat spam spells. This is the list of spells that you want to cast during combat. Things like Firebolt or Arcane Missiles, for example. One spell per line. Next is protection spell. This is a single spell that is cast at the beginning of combat. It's always cast at the beginning of combat, and it can be anything that you want. Next we have healing over time. This is for those lucky few who have a healing over time spell, like the Draenei have Gift to the Nehru. You'll type its name here. Next is the healing spell. This is the spell you're going to cast on yourself to heal when your heal percent is at or below 45 in the current example. If you don't have a healing spell, your toon will drink a healing potion, take a health stone, whatever you have in your inventory that is usable at that time. Next is combat DOT spells. This is the list of dots that you want to maintain on the mob you're attacking. When the dot expires, the toon will recast the dot. Next is post-combat spells. This is the list of spells that you want to cast after combat. For example, if you have a totem you want to drop after combat, if you have a healing spell or some other type of spell, for example, to create a new health stone, this would be the perfect place to put it. And last we have the stop attempts to run away spell. This is the spell you're going to cast when a mob tries to run away from you. It could be something like Entangling Roots, for example, something to stop the mob or try to kill them quickly. And next you'll see the cast combat spam spells randomly. If you check this, your combat spells will be cast in random order each time combat begins. And if you leave it unchecked, they'll be cast in the order that you enter them here. Remember, one spell per line. Last, again, we have start level, end level. You'll see this on almost every tab. This is to let you save your settings to a block, to to a range of levels. So you only have to type this in a few times. And when you're done, you click Save Settings, and everything saves for you. Okay, next we're going to move to the Combat Class panel. And this panel is class specific. You'll notice I have a Shaman loaded. He's level 2. You'll see a different panel here depending on what class you're logged into. So for example, you'll see in the Shaman, we have the main weapon buff and offhand weapon buff. These are cast before combat if you don't have the buff on your weapon. And last is the list of totems by category that you want to drop at the beginning of combat. They're always dropped. And again, we have the level range, and when you've got everything done, you click Save Settings, and it will save for you automatically. So that's the end of the basic amount of settings that you need for combat. If you fill out these 3 panels, you'll have everything you need, and really you just need to target combat settings and combat class. You'll have everything that you need for combat. The last thing you'll have to do is create paths, and that's in the next tutorial. So when you're ready to run your bot, you come back to the main page, and this is the list of bots available. The standard bot is the one that we configured everything for. It runs around, it kills toons, it kills mobs, it loots, it goes to vendors and mailboxes, it applies talent points, it does everything that you need. We also have the combat only, which basically you control the bot, you run around, and as soon as combat enters, the Rhabot will take over and handle combat for you. Next we have the out-of-party heal bot, which we discussed in heal bot settings. We have Sushi Bot, which is the fishing bot. You go to a body of water, you start Sushi Bot, it will equip the best fishing pole you have in your bag. It will apply the bobbers and every buff that you have, and it will start fishing, and just keep fishing until you tell it to stop. This is a great way to power level your fishing. You can go from 1 to 300 in less than 3 hours using Sushi Bot. Once you pick the bot that you want, if it needs a path, for example, the standard bot needs a path, you'll choose the path from the drop down. We don't have any paths yet, that's in the next tutorial, and you click Start Bot, and the bot will start, and you're good to go.